Welcome to our first episode of Table Talk with Zach and Carly. Today we're going to be talking about forgiveness. And at the end, we're going to have a challenge for you. Forgiveness, is important in really anything in your relationship, marriage, parenting. It's essential for, your future, your life together. So, what is forgiveness?
So forgiveness is a two-way street, right? It's easy for one person maybe to say, I forgive you. But the other half of that is really the person who has done that action needs to accept whether they had a line of reasoning, whether they thought it was the best for the family, thought it was best for the relationship. Regardless of what their intent is, they really have to accept that they made that person feel a certain way to where they felt like they needed to forgive you for that action. Right, you can have the greatest intent in the world, to solve your problem, but in execution, if it hurts someone, it really doesn't. It doesn't always matter what your intent was, because perception is reality, and how that person feels is more important than what your intent was.
Now that we have this idea of, what forgiveness is, why we're forgiving, acknowledging it, I think it's important to kind of go back and realize, in a marriage, especially in a relationship, especially as time goes on, we hold on to things that, may have not seemed like a huge deal at the time to that person, kind of like Zach was saying, but we hold on to it anyway, and then at the first sight of a disagreement or, an argument, it's the first thing that comes out. We get mad, we hold on to, whatever that situation was, whether it was words or, an action that we didn't like, and at the time we said it was fine, we moved on, but the moment tension happens,
we use it as ammunition
to
defend ourselves.
Yeah, we use it as fire, and, we just keep digging into that hurt, which is why we have to be able to forgive one another. And, with forgiveness, you're not forgetting, but you are able to finally decide that I am not going to hold this against you. I am not going to think about it anymore. I'm not going to let it hurt me. I'm not going to let it hurt our relationship anymore. So you are literally acknowledging, I forgive you for blank, and moving on. Yes, it might still hurt, but you can't grow as a couple, you can't grow as, each other in a marriage if you are still constantly reverting back to something that they did. And it could have been as simple as, you got annoyed that they went out with their friends, or they got drunk, I don't know, or they left their clothes on the floor. We pick the battles, but sometimes those battles, that we choose to ignore, or that we choose to, I don't know, stop talking about, and then we hold it in instead of just saying, I forgive you for this. And then, letting that person reflect on it and say, okay, maybe that wasn't the right decision. This is how she felt. Okay, now we can move on together and figure it out moving forward.
Yeah, I think you said it right there. I think a big thing is when we talk about forgiveness, she said it doesn't always make the hurt go away. And we can forgive, it doesn't mean there's still not healing to be done, right? It's not always easy to get over someone leaving clothes on the ground. I guess it's something we hold on to.
We pick our battles.
The clothes may be gone, but the feeling still stays that they had to put them there, right? But just be mindful of that in forgiveness. Like, just because someone forgives you doesn't mean they still don't need that coping time, that reassurance, and really that constant work at correcting whatever it is they forgive you for. Because, forgiveness is really great. It's powerful. It's important in a marriage. But, at the end of the day, people aren't perfect. But when you continue to make a mistake over and over again, are you really doing that person any favors by giving them the opportunity to forgive you again and again? You gotta hold yourself accountable to changing, and just being mindful of your actions. For one of us, I don't think putting our clothes in the hamper in the dryer washer is necessarily first nature, right? Drop them where they go, and where they land, they land.
That's a you thing.
Wasn't gonna name names, right? But hey, it's something important to her, so it's gonna be something important to me. Is that gonna be the deal breaker of my marriage? Nope, not gonna pick my clothes up. Deal with it. If not, there's the door. I mean, is that where we're gonna draw the line in the sand? I think that I can bend there, but at the end of the day, forgiveness is again a two-way street, and you really got to enact and make the changes as well, right? You got to be the person that you want to be for your significant other, for your child, for your mother, your brother, your sister, whoever it is, right? Because they have this view of you, and that's why they're forgiving you, right? Because maybe they hold you to a higher standard than you hold yourself. They know that you can be better than you were that day.
As we're looking at, different aspects, I hope you're taking the time right now to reflect and, think about, is there something that I'm holding on to? Do I keep bringing up, money, or do I keep bringing up clothes? Do I keep bringing up dishes in the sink that I'm getting irritated about? What is it in your life? And it can be very simple. It could be something, that might not be a big deal to an outsider, but is a big deal to you, and it's still important to acknowledge it in your marriage. You have to be able to really dig down deep, and we actually did this challenge that we're going to tell you about, and it turned out we were holding on to a lot of things that happened 5 years ago, and so when they came out, it turned out to be kind of an eye-opener, as in, like, I didn't know you felt that way. We have to be able to be transparent. So we did this challenge, and it brought up things that we have been holding on to for years and years that neither one of us had really acknowledged, because we didn't think that they were that big of a deal. So by doing it, you're really able to understand your partner more, their feelings, what is important to them, what hurts them, what makes them tick, and then together, you're able to move past it.
Yeah, I would say that it was good for us. I think it's easy to go after, we'll say, the big stuff, right? The stuff that's easy to remember. But when we make a forgiveness list, you really got to write down everything that you forgive them for. Like she said, it's not always going to be things that is obvious to the other person. You might say something where they have a revelation, or it's like, wow, I didn't know that rubbed you that way. I didn't realize, that wasn't something that you enjoyed, or if that was something that, I did wrong. Sometimes they just don't know, especially early on in a relationship. People tend to just to absorb any kind of, I wouldn't say negative, but any kind of, opportunities the other person may have, and just try to see the light, and push it aside. And then, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, maybe it's still bothering them from day one.
And I think it's important to note that, maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, it doesn't come up in arguments. It's not that big of a deal that he did this or she did that. But if you're still thinking about it as we're talking, maybe it's a good idea to kind of get it off your chest. Now, so it's important that when you do this challenge, which we are going to explain, I promise, that you have an open mind, you're actually really digging down deep. And the problem is that when we do this, those memories of hurt, pain, whatever it might be, uncomfortability, it brings us back to that exact moment, and it might make you want to shut down. Don't. Write it down and keep going. So, are you ready for your challenge? This week, the forgiveness challenge is simply that you are literally going to write down on a piece of paper, I forgive you for blank. 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 However many pages, however many lines, you are going to write down every single thing you forgive that person for. And same with, your spouse. You're doing this together. Maybe not next to one another. Hopefully on your own time, so that way you have time to really reflect and there's no, someone reading over your shoulder. Actually think about it. Take time and write it down. I forgive you for whatever that action, whatever that, feeling was, and end it, period. The point of this is not to say, I forgive you for leaving your clothes on the ground, but I guess I'm the one who does the laundry. That is not the point. The point is to acknowledge what hurt you or what frustrated you, whatever feeling that you felt. The point is to acknowledge it.
You don't have to be sorry for forgiving them. You don't have to be sorry for something they did upsetting you. You were upset. It's okay. We're all human, right? And with this, transparency is going to be important, right? Don't be afraid to say, I forgive you for this, and it's going to hurt that person, right? You're forgiving them to help them, not to hurt them. Now, if they accept it the other way, right, that's another conversation. But we used words earlier about rationalizing. It's normal for someone to, give you some kind of, comment or forgiveness. Hey, I forgive you for doing this. And for you to get into denial. Like, well, no, you shouldn't have to. I don't need to be forgiven. Mm-hmm. I did it because of this, and this, and this. Right? That's not the point of this. You gotta remove yourself from that line of thinking. Because it's not about you. Right? Great, you may have had an awesome reason to do it. But perception is reality, and you just gotta accept your partner or whoever you're doing this with, reality and statement as real, regardless of how you feel, right? Because that's what this is about, right? It's not only about them telling you what was important, enough for them to hold on to and finally forgive you for it, but it's important for you to accept that and understand that, hey, I can do better, regardless if it's something I've ever even thought about before or not. Hey, if that's important to you, hey, it's important to me too. Sure, I can give you any line of reason why it's important that I did do it that way. But, if that's that, I'm willing to give up on that, right? I'm willing to bend there, give and take. That's how you feel, and we'll work through it.
Yes. So, you've written your letter. Call it a letter, but really it's a list. So, you've written it. It's a page, it's 10 lines, it's whatever. As long as you are being real and being honest, because that is really the most important part about this. If you can't be honest about, what has hurt you in the past or made you feel whatever type of way, this is not going to work. So, take time separately, write your list. Doesn't matter if one is longer than the other. I have my list, my I forgive you list, and then you are going to take turns reading them to one another. Let me tell you, this is probably the hardest part on both ends, the receiving and the giving, because as you're reading your list, as you are forgiving your partner, your spouse, whoever, you are literally reliving every single memory that brought up some type of negative feeling. So, it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to do whatever you need to do to get through the list. Your partner, who is receiving this list, needs to be silent. They need to listen and absorb. Okay? When you are done reading your list, take a minute, breathe, calm your nerves. If you were frustrated or anxious, whatever, it's done, it's over. And then I want you to let your partner read their letter to you. Because in marriage, it's all about, give and take. We have to be able to take, the words of our loved ones and reflect on them. Not rationalize, not get defensive, not get upset. True forgiveness. Being able to put it down, say it out loud if it has never been said before, and move on. Now, once you're done with this, maybe it might be helpful to talk about how you were feeling when they were reading the list, how you felt reading the list, how you felt hearing it. One of the things that we did was, after we took a breath and kind of, calmed the nerves, it was more of, I never knew that, or I didn't think that was a huge problem. So it's then, reflecting. You have to be able to acknowledge that you're not perfect, and keep going forward as a couple. I think that the main thing is you will never be able to, truly love someone entirely in all their being until you forgive them and forgive yourself. Because if you're going to keep holding grudges, keep holding on to things to spew out later during a disagreement, you're never going to be able to move past it. You need to forgive. And that's why we wanted to talk to you guys about this. We're passionate about these topics that we're going to be talking about through this, video. So, what were you going to say?
I would say that just kind of on that line, when we talk about, hey, there's going to be things on those lists where you're, wow, I didn't know. Ask yourself 2 questions, when that happens. Is it, did I not know or did I not acknowledge? Number 1. And number 2 is, did they ever try to tell me it was important through conversation, through certain actions? And not to beat yourself up or anything, but notice where you shut down, or maybe look for an opportunity where, hey, I checked out on that conversation, and this is why, and I can acknowledge that, and maybe I can do better next time, or just something that you can miss completely, and look at it as an opportunity, like, hey, I know you better now. Right now, I know I don't always know everything about you, and I think that knowing that, some people may feel like it's, wow, I thought I knew my wife better than I did, and you feel down, or it's hey, I still don't know everything about you yet, so I'm excited to keep learning, right? I feel that excitement back that maybe there's still more room for me to find what else is in there, right? It's always better to have that positive look, I would say, but always reflect if there's something on the list where they're forgiving you for something you didn't realize affected them, accept it, own it, but then ask yourself why you never noticed before. Maybe they never brought it up, maybe you didn't listen. Just keep an open mind.
Hey guys, so that was our first table talk with Zach and Carly. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you were able to take this forgiveness challenge, this forgiveness letter, whatever you want to call it, and apply it to your own life. Next week, we're going to be talking about something completely different. Our main goal is really, we talk about these things together, so we thought, why not share them with an audience that keeps hounding me for couples advice and marriage advice. So now we're going to be doing that together. It'll be going up every Wednesday around, I want to say 12 o'clock. I hope you guys have a great Wednesday.
And a great night. Thank you.
And enjoy.